Yo. All right, last question. Dennis, in 2025, will Carlos Thomas Jr. qualify for the Olympia?
I think yes.
What show is he going to do it? Just say the Arnold right now. Say he's going to win the Arnold Classic.
Can you imagine that?
Boy, shake up the world. That would be crazy.
Hello, bodybuilding fans, and welcome back to another episode of Big Bad Bodybuilding. I'm your host, Zach Barnard. With me, as always, my partner coming from Las Vegas, Dennis the Big Bad Wolf. Dennis, good morning.
Good morning. What's up, Zach?
Man, just another day, man. Seasons are changing, getting ready for that the winter weather and Christmas around here. A little colder there, huh? You've been training outside still.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can't believe it's almost Christmas. I trained last night outside. It was pretty cold, so I gotta keep moving between the sets, so my body is not cooling down. So it's a little bit different approach if you train outside when weather is not that not that good. So yeah, but still good. I love it because the fresh air is it's just can't compare it with indoor training.
I have to ask, was last night chest day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I saw your update Monday, right? It's International Chest Day. That's right. So I saw your post, dude. Man, you're looking good, brother. I mean, like,
I appreciate that.
Lean, but I mean, for 211, I think is what I saw your post, and that's pretty solid, man. 211 right there. Are you doing anything different lately? And I mean, what's the goal? Or we're gonna try to bulk up? You've been right around that weight for a while now, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Much appreciated that. It was kind of spontaneous.
You don't do a lot of physique update. So I was just wondering, man, like, what was it last night? You're just like, man, I'm gonna show them what I got. It looked good. It looked pretty good.
Sometimes I got that in my head, So yeah, I've been on that weight for months, So I'm kind of not getting into getting heavier because I'm struggling with the meals again. Not eating enough. So as soon as I start eating more, like one meal more a day, I'm getting up to almost 100 kilos. It's like 225 or so. No, 222. So yeah, it's easy for me, but I like the weight around 211, 212. I feel perfect. So just maintaining everything. Maintaining it's the key right now. I'm not building any muscle. I'm just maintaining it, and try to stay lean, healthy, and of course, trying to look good.
We're still hitting legs once a week, or what? We still getting some legs?
No, I blew my knee.
It's still bothering you? Yeah.
Yeah, I started different type of training, different sports, and I shouldn't have done that. So yeah, my knee was swollen for a couple of weeks, so that's why I didn't train legs. So last Saturday I tried it again, so just to help the knee a little bit, just put some blood in, all that. It's more healthy than doing nothing, so yeah, but that's it. So I've been not training legs for a while because of that injury.
Okay. Well, upper body's looking good, so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. All right. Well, before we bring on our guest today, all right, we want to shout out to our sponsor again, Olympia Trading Cards. You can go to their website, type in Wolf10 at checkout to get 10% off of a gold medal, Olympia medal. And hopefully our guest today will have his card here at the end of next year. We'll see. And then don't forget to visit nutritionwolf.com. Of course, Dennis Wolf's brand of supplements. We got 3 different pre-workouts for you guys. There's a high stem, a moderate, more focused pre-workout, and then a non-stem for your pump with no caffeine. So check those out. Also want to bring up, we have our new product out, Forage. Okay, this is our greens product. I take this every day. I took it every day before we came out with it. Dennis is taking it pretty regularly, I believe, with his breakfast as well. It's got your blood sugar control. It's got all your greens in it. It's got your prebiotics, digestive help. So man, it's a great product. You guys get on there and check that one out. That's the newest one of the line. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest today. He hadn't been on stage since 2023. He won the overall at the 2021 national overall winner. And this guy could probably take a few leg days off himself. Please welcome Carlos Thomas Jr. Carlos, how are you, brother?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me on. You know, I know we were trying to make it happen for a while, so I'm super excited to make this happen.
Yeah, man, great to have you on. Like I mentioned to you earlier, before we started the show, I do live in DFW, and Carlos, I did get to see your pro debut in person. Was there. I took my at the time, I believe, 8-year-old son, so he thought that was pretty cool. It's his first bodybuilding show, and I remember Andrew Jack. You know, no offense, but he was his favorite. Of course, he won the show, but you placed, I believe, a respectable third. And so, you know, being that your only show, can you kind of give us some insight? Were you happy with your look at that show, and kind of what were the judges' feedback on what you need to bring to the table going forward?
Yeah, so leading into it, I was going to do the New York Pro 2023, but I have ulcerative colitis, and it's something that I've been dealing with since 2021, and it just had a very severe flare up. For those who don't know, it is a it's considered an autoimmune disorder because, you would develop like ulcers on the lining of like your intestines and stuff like that. So I have left-sided ulcerative colitis. And along with that comes a multitude of symptoms of urgency to go to the bathroom. So a lot of number twos. And it can cause bleeding. So going to the bathroom, toilet bowl looks like a murder scene. It is pretty terrible, to be honest with you. Like it causes extreme fatigue, and if it's just a lot of inflammation going on, so that can impact the prep pretty terribly. So I had a really bad flare up during that time, and that's just me kind of speed running through it. I had a really bad flare up during that time, so decided to pull out of the New York Pro and figure it out, get it squared away, and I addressed with my gastroenterologist some things we could do. And I went and got that taken care of. So I had to approach my prep a little bit differently, and we did that. And I had to figure out what foods and supplementations worked well for me while prepping, because we know prep is a huge stressor just for itself on the body, and that's a strong trigger for my ulcerative colitis. Physical stress, mental stress. So working with that and getting that mitigated was the first thing I had to do. So once we got it underneath control, we decided, okay, what's the next show? And it was 16 weeks out of the Texas Pro. And so, we prepped for it. And towards the end, my body started to fight back a little bit. So coming in, I thought we had a great size, great shape. Conditioning could have been a bit better. But I think with dealing with what I had, I think we brought the best that we could. And like we said, we had a respectable third against two top Olympians, Andrew Jack and Hunter Labrada. And, they looked amazing. I think Hunter was at one of his all-time best. Andrew was probably at one of his all-time best at the time. We had good guys who placed in there, like Lewis Breed. There was Jordan Hutchison as well, who had a great year, stellar year this year. So, there were some really good guys in that show. And to, have like you said, a respectable third place was wonderful. But leading out of that show, we did have good feedback. And this is what I really enjoyed about being in the pro ranks is you walk backstage, the judges walk right backstage right after the show. They go, hey, this is what you need to work on. And, we really like this from you. So that's what happened. Tyler came right up to me. He said, hey, we like the size you had, bring a little bit better conditioning, bring some more thickness and density to the back. And kind of chill on the legs a little bit because they were starting to get a little ridiculous. So, which I think is a good problem to have. I think I think we addressed that properly this past year. I did attempt to prep for the Arnold Classic Brazil this past March, April-ish. However, I had a very, very close death in the family. So I had to come back home. I was staying in Brazil. My sponsors are there. And I had to come back home and take care of that and be with my family because it was something that was really, really close to myself. So I had to go back home for that and make sure that everything was right. And yeah, now we're leading into some shows next year.
Yeah, we're excited. I can't wait to see you compete. We'll get to that here in a second. I did want to ask you, though, coming up between 2017 and 2021, how many were there years in there you didn't compete, or were you just doing like certain shows? Because, you know, if you get online, you can see your start for NPC, you know, when you started in 2017 and then when you won, and it's a whole nother person. I mean, you put on like 100 pounds of muscle, it looks like. So, you know, and obviously you have showstopper body parts. I mean, obviously the goal is to present a complete package, but arms and quads, man. I mean, can you share with us a little bit, just training wise, what you did between 2017 and 2021 to really have world-class quads, world-class arms?
So during that time period, I was getting my master's degree. As we mentioned, you know, I work for UPenn and what I do. So during the time I was getting my master's degree from Villanova, and I was like, you know what, it's kind of difficult to, you know, give yourself mentally during the prep and also write, you know, these long papers and do studies and things like that. So I was like, you know what, I'll just stay bodybuilding and do what I can and improve myself. But I also have to take care of, you know, this part of my life over here. So that's what I did during that time. And we attempted to get on stage during 2020. However, that was the year everything was pretty crazy. So I did do a bit of a diet down period during that time, but it just didn't happen with all like the mix up with like all the, you know, the shows being here and there and not being able to find a qualifier that was close. And yeah, so we just decided to do 2021. But during that time, you know, I stayed to what was true. You know, I think during that time I really grew as a bodybuilder, because when you kind of come up and you give your all to a prep, and that's your all. You're like, cardio, diet, everything's 100%. But then in the off season, I was like, you know, I'll eat my meals, but I might have some cheat meals during the week, and it's freedom. And, you know, like you may not do cardio. You still train, but, you know, things may not be as consistent as far as like you're going to sleep on time, you're getting on your water on time, and you're getting your meals in 100%. And I think that's something that really changed for me was getting those meals in and treating the off season like a prep. You know, I was 100% regimented. I got all my meals in. I slept at the same time, ate at the same time. You know, everything was bang on, like I was in a prep. And, you know, that along with the training, I got more back to basic training. You know, barbell squats work well for me. So I did, you know, the basics. I did barbell squats, I did leg press, I did leg extensions, walking lunges. And those are the things that, you know, my body responded to the best. You know, I got away from doing like, you know, the Smith machines, which may work well for some people, but for me, I really feel like that barbell squat and, you know, doing the basic movements, you know, just really helped, and just refining those and getting the most out of those movements, or what, you know, really helped my progress. So it was just consistency across the board, logging my lifts, making sure I progressed each week, you know, making sure I stayed true to my meal plan, making sure I stayed true to my sleep and, you know, on my hydration, and taking care of all those little things like you would in a prep, but I just did it in the off season. And it sounds like so simple, but it really is that simple. It's just like, do those things and do them consistently and do them well.
In your training, was it kind of a standard, like everything once a week type of deal, or were you doing something twice a week, or how does your body respond best?
So when I approach back, I do my back days twice a week. So I'll do a standard back day, say like on a Tuesday, but then on a Saturday, I will do back and hamstrings again. So I'll train quads with one hamstring on a Wednesday, and then I'll have a full hamstring workout all on Saturday, and like also a touch up of my back on Saturday as well. And that's how I approach it. For a very long time, I was doing hamstrings and quads in one session, but I felt that it was starting to run a bit too long. So I just decided to split those up a bit and do like a quad hamstring, and then do a hamstring and back day. So that way I can get touched up on my my back, and then also give my hamstring some more attention, because my quads seem to respond very easily.
Right. But in that period, though, growing up into your pro qualification, as far as arms and legs, was it pretty much once a week? Everything like heavy once a week, or were you doing twice a week? It
was a natural like bro split, people want to call it. So right. it was the chest Monday, back Tuesday, legs Wednesday, and then shoulders Friday. And then far as my arms, they always kind of like responded very well. So every now and again, I would have a 6-day split where I may have an arm day on a Thursday, which was a rest day, but then I would back them off and move them to, say, chest and triceps or back and biceps. So I would kind of rotate between doing a 5-day split to a 6-day split, where that 6th day is an arm day. Yeah, that's usually how I approach it. If I want more frequency in getting into the gym, because I was like being in there, I'll throw an arm day in, and that'll be like 6 days a week of training.
So most bodybuilders will probably do arm day twice a week or so, you know. But
yeah,
with your genetics and you know, body response, that's yeah, I understand why you're doing it. And of course, I mean, they're like special body parts like legs, you know, it's almost kind of feels like, yeah, you don't have to do it for the next 6 months or so, you know, no workout. It's still gonna be probably overpowering some of you know, the rest. But yeah, it's very impressive. And then, you know, you hear like what is very, very important is the genetics, and then how the body responds. And sometimes, you know, like you said, your arms were growing, legs faster than the rest, you know. In my case, there were shoulders, you know, but I feel it. I feel how it was. And that's very exciting time, because you see yourself changing, like you said, almost every week. And that's awesome, man. It's awesome to hear.
Dennis, was there ever a time in your career where you had to like stop training something because it was like out of proportion? Was there ever? You were always pretty proportioned. You didn't have anything that stood out like super freaky. You know, everything was pretty imbalanced. So there was never a time where you were like, I can't train. I'm just not going to train it for 6 weeks.
The only a few times I didn't train shoulders is because of the shoulder pain. You know, in every prep there was like a switch up. One prep was the left shoulder, another prep the right shoulder, and then back and forth, left, right. You know, so, and then sometimes I couldn't even lift anything, you know, so the inflammation got so intense. I will, you know, have a break for 2 weeks or so. But the good thing is, you know, or was the shoulders were overpowering the rest, you know, so it was like, yeah, I'm not worried about.
Did y'all have BPC around 10, 15 years ago?
No,
nobody even knew what that was, right?
That will be life-saving.
You know, I threw that out there, but you know, Carlos, with your ulcerative, how do I pronounce that? The colitis?
Yeah, ulcerative colitis.
Yeah, I've heard that BPC has, you know, good benefits for like gut health. Is that something that you take?
Yeah, that's something I take. I have like oral capsules.
Okay.
Literally,
does it help
right here? I have like oral capsules that I take.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering. I've heard that, you know, that it helps also with digestion and things like that. So I was just wondering if it was part of your regimen.
Oh yeah. I make sure to try to, you know, address everything as best as possible. Yeah, BPC is something that I do use, and I use the injectable version as well. Just if I have any like nagging injuries and stuff. So I try to make sure I stay on top of all of it. But like Dennis was saying, I actually tore my ACL playing football, and man, like I think it probably took 6 months for my legs to come back. After tearing my ACL, like after resting 6 months and then 6 months of full training. So it's a God-given blessed body part for me, to be honest with you.
Right. Looking ahead to next year, I know you've kind of come out and said you've targeted the Detroit Pro. That's the end of March. Is that still the plan?
That's still the plan. You know, the goal, the ultimate goal is just to bring the best that I'm ever going to be. You know, like, you know, the best I can be at this time is to bring, you know, the conditioning that they want to see, that the judges requested of me. Because I feel like I have, you know, pretty much everything else. I feel like my back's improved. You know, the shape, the quads, the arms, the chest, the shoulders. I feel like I'm a pretty balanced bodybuilder. So, you know, the thing that I'm really focused on this prep is bringing in the conditioning. So yeah, the Detroit Pro is the one, the main one. I did toss my hat in the ring for the Arnold. The invites come out this Friday. So we'll see what happens. If it happens, great. But if not, we roll right on to the Detroit Pro. And then there are other shows that I'm interested in. The FIBO has open bodybuilding this year.
100K prize money.
Yeah, and that's I think that's around 12 days after the after the Detroit Pro. So I'll already be in shape, and that sounds like a good thing to do. So, you know, and then there's other shows like Pittsburgh, which is a month after FIBO. So
I mean, that would be perfect. So it's like everything lined up for you.
Dennis, I'm sure you'll probably be over at FIBO with Jim 80 again.
Yes. I'll be at the FIBO, and looking forward to see you there, Carlos.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I mean, it's right now, that's a good thing. You know, the prize money goes up, and that this is fantastic for bodybuilders. You know, so and that's gonna draw a lot of competitors to the shows. That's amazing.
So you mentioned the list. I'm glad you brought that up about Friday. I was going to ask if we knew any of the competitors other than, you know, Samson saying he's going to do it, the Arnold next year. And I'm assuming there's still going to be no 212. I mean, I hadn't heard that changing, you know, at any time. So I guess that's still going to be the case. I know there's also the Arnold South America. I believe that's next weekend. So, I mean, that may be a lot though to try to do. You know, would that be something you'd be interested in doing that? And then I guess FIBO, you'd probably want to fly over there early, huh?
There's my sponsors are in Brazil, so that would be really cool to do as well.
But that would be back-to-back weekends. Is that lined up if it'd be back-to-back or no?
I think it would be. They just released the schedule, so I think it would be back-to-back weekends almost for Detroit into the. Let's see. I actually have it right here. It's April 4th to April 6th.
Yeah, it's a week before
that's Arnold, right?
Yeah. So it is the week after Detroit, the weekend after Detroit. So
okay, all right. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Weekend after. Okay, so you'd fly over there. Have you ever done a show back-to-back weekends before?
Only as an amateur. I've done it when I did the NPC Eastern USA's, when NPC Nationals was the weekend before Thanksgiving. This was in 2017. Eastern USA's was the week before Nationals. So I had the show the week before, and then I flew out to Miami, where it was held in Miami that Tuesday for NPC Nationals. So yeah, that's the only time I've ever done a show that was like back to back. And yeah, I think it's easier. You know, you just stay right on diet and just go straight to it. So
yeah, I think so too. I was love to do, you know, like post Olympia shows, going to Europe, and I got better and better every show. But Americans, they're not used to that. You know, back in the days, they wouldn't travel that much, you know, to compete. Like most shows were here, you know. So that will help me to beat all of them in Europe. So and I actually don't understand why people are afraid of going somewhere, like flying 10 hours or 8 hours, and then, you know, gonna be afraid, I'm gonna lose my condition. No, it's just one day, and then over the night, as soon as you land, so the next night, over the night, you lose all the water, so you're probably even harder and drier because of that, you know. So I really like that, because I knew it works and how it works, and that played in my cards always.
Yeah, I think it's something that you know, should be brought back, and that's something that I want to do. Like, I love this sport. You know, I've only competed once as a pro, but the way the shows are lined up this year, I would love to do more. Like, I want to have that experience of traveling to different, you know, places and competing and meeting different people, and you know, just enjoying bodybuilding for what it is. It's we work so hard. I feel like that's a fun part, you know, to go out and explore and have a good time. You know, you're gonna do your job because you're a professional. But you know, like, why not go out to FIBO? And, you know, like, I've been out to Germany a few times, and I've always had a great time when I was there. So I was like, that sounds like a great time, you know, like, go to Brazil. My sponsors are in Brazil. It makes sense. You know, it's just like bodybuilding. It's grown, and the fitness industry has grown. So we should just continue to spread it around and just be, you know, get your physiques in front of other people who may not be able to come to the Olympias or come to the Arnolds to see these other athletes, just like Martin did with Prague. So that's a good example.
Absolutely. And you're, as a professional bodybuilder, you know, that's your job too, to compete, right? So, and like you said before in the beginning, the off season and on season, you know, so if you're training anyways, you know, there's no difference. And then also, you know, like if you schedule everything, like, you know, in the off season, the same thing, like in your prep, so everything works great. So why not just, you know, continue to compete, you know, so you're in shape anyways, and you know, just travel and do your shows. And then also like Fibo and like Arnold in Brazil, and so far they all have expos. The exposure is just you know, big plus for you as a bodybuilder. And then, you know, you're just there, you just started, you know. So, and I will do that right away. So try to get a lot of shows, you know, pick a lot of shows with you feel comfortable with, and then just
Yes,
go.
sir.
Man,
Yes, sir.
Carlos, it sounds like the last couple of years, really, the colitis is really what's been the thing that's really held you back. Do you feel like you've got to handle it? And I guess you don't know for sure until you get into prep, but I mean, do you think you have it figured out enough where it'll allow you to do these multiple shows that you want to next year?
Yes. So it really responds to, you know, the stress of the prep, and we know now like how to push my body. That's why I started so far out from Detroit and from the Arnold Classic. I started 24 weeks out from Detroit and 20 weeks out from the Arnold Classic because we wanted to take that time to bring the body down slowly and go ahead and give it time to, you know, rest if we needed to, or if anything does come up, I have time to mitigate, you know, anything that happens. So it gives me a little bit more time underneath my belt. So, but this so far during this prep, I haven't had any issues with, you know, my colitis. I had a little bit of I call it like a little mini flare up where the next day I feel very off. But that's because I took my training to very extreme. You know, like that day I was just in the gym. I felt really good. And I was like, all right, I'm going to push really hard today. You know, I'll go heavier on the deadlifts, heavier on the rows. And it was a great workout, but I have to take into account my recovery and how that stresses my body. And the next day I felt like, whoa, I'm using the bathroom a lot more than usual. So that's a sign to me that, okay, you push yourself a little bit too hard. You know, let's not do that next time, you know? So I've learned my body well enough over these past, you know, few years, and it's beginning to become a little bit easier for me to predict or understand what causes the flare-ups for my ulcerative colitis.
Man, well, best of luck with you on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like just listening to that is just, man, it's tough.
It's one more thing to deal with, right? It's hard enough, you know, peaking for a show and getting ready and dealing with that. And you
also,
know,
like if you know, you know, you get that, or it gets worse through the stress, you know, the more stress, the worse it gets. It's, you know, how do you approach the training, you know? So it's, I think it's very, very difficult, but you learn, you know, your body, and you learn more and more. So good luck with that. And yeah, hopefully everything goes well in the prep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, I've got a tricky question for you here, because I know the answer to all three of these. But of these three objectives, Carlos, what is the most important thing for you to achieve this year? Is it one, to figure out your peak? Not that you haven't peaked, but your absolute best, most conditioned physique. And number two, compete in multiple shows and grow your presence in the sport. Or three, to qualify for the Olympia?
I think if the one answers all the rest of them. So I feel as though if I, you know, when I nail this, you know, this conditioning and this peak, that in and of itself will, you know, I think me at my best can win shows. So that would handle, you know, me being able to, you know, achieve that goal of going to Olympia. And then, you know, me being able to present my physique at its best. I think it's something that everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see, you know, me at my best, because, you know, I have the bells and whistles. I have the legs, I have the arms, I have the shape. And they just want me to see, they want to see that brought all the way in at its best peak. So I think that would help with growing the brand and doing these shows. So yeah, I think kind of one answers all of them. So that's my number one goal, because figure that out, the rest is cake.
That's right. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. And on that, no, we saw obviously you posted a picture and a progress report last week. I think that's got everybody talking. Pretty crazy. Got my attention. I was like, man, I forgot we got to get Carlos on. And so, obviously you've been dealing with the colitis. Where have you made the most progress in those gains? Are you the heaviest you've ever been in an off season? And where do you think you really made the improvements?
So coming out of Brazil, and dealing with the loss of in my family, I took about 8 weeks off. I didn't do anything. I didn't touch anything. I made it into the gym, but I was more of I was working out and not training. I was just going. So out of that time, I just took time to kind of like get myself back together again, mentally and physically. So the goal for this bit of the time off season, which kind of started in like May or June, up until starting prep right after the Olympia, was to get my body weight up, but keep the conditioning respectable, because if I let it get out of hand, and I could blow up to 270, 280 if I wanted to, but that would just stretch my skin out. And it would just make it difficult to get that elasticity back and, get that thin skin, which is what my goal is for this prep. So we pushed the body weight up to around like 255, 260, almost 260. But the conditioning, we wanted to keep that conditioning respectable. So I think, during that time we focused on what needs to be brought up, which was the back. And I really honed in with my training, figuring out my training and what exercises worked well for me and I connected with best. So took a little bit of trial and error, but I think we found out, okay, like what works best for me, what type of exercise selection and split setup works best for me as well. So we addressed the back. I think I made the improvements in it. But as far as like pushing my weight up really heavy, we didn't really do it this time around. I decided that we erred on the side of conditioning and making sure that I don't have, a lot to pull off come the prep time.
Yeah, well, I think you've done a good job. I know Dennis is not a fan of blowing up and getting big too fast. And I mean, it seems like every episode Dennis harps on that, and I think you're doing it the right way. I'm sure Dennis is a fan of the way you're doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, weight is not everything, So if you're big, heavy, and not conditioned enough, it doesn't make sense, what you do the whole year, right? So I mean, you have to bring everything on stage. So and most what happens today is just we're missing the crazy condition. So and I would love to see everyone in a crazy condition. Just the battle gets funnier and more respectable. If you see like the athlete brought it all, everything he had, So and I would always go for the condition, even if you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna lose another 5 pounds. Yeah, so what? You're gonna look 10 pounds heavier on stage because you lost 5 pounds extra, to get that condition. So yeah,
sure.
Way to go, brother. I would love to see you in a crazy condition, but I understand why you didn't brought it last time because of your health issues, and and that's still respectable because you made it through, with all the issues. I can't even imagine how your brain was working that, like having that, riding to the toilet and still being on a prep and then, going to the show and stuff like that. It's hard, I guess.
Yeah.
Carlos?
But, it's something that I have, a goal, I mean, and when I said in bodybuilding, when I came in, I was following guys like you, Dennis. That was that time where you won your Arnold. You were battling with Sean, in those Arnolds and battling for that top Olympian spots, and you guys always brought it, and that's the level which I aspire to, because that's when I came into bodybuilding, that's what I saw. So that's the quality that I want to bring. I picked up a muscular development, and it was Phil Heath on it, and I was like, man, like that's the goal. You know what I mean? That is the goal. So to bring that kind of battle that you guys had, where it was like, who could take it? that's what I want to bring. You know, I mean, I want to bring an entertaining physique, you know, where people would, you know, have a good time and can see the work that was put into it.
Absolutely. We need more characters again.
Yeah. Carlos, you touched on it a while ago, how your fans and people want to see you, you know, at your best and kind of fulfill your potential. Like in our day of social media and all the podcasts such as this one, you know, all guys like us do or talk about, is this guy going to live up to his potential? Can he nail it? And you being one of the highly touted Nick Walker type of guy hitting the scene, and like, how high is this guy going to go? Do you feel that pressure? Does it bother you at all to live up to like those expectations?
You know, I want to say that it did. You know, it did. When I did nationals in 2021, it was the first time I ever got like a little bit of like hype, and people were making videos about me and stuff. And you know, that started to get to me because I put the pressure on myself. You know, I was like, I have to be this thing for these people. And the same thing going into my pro debut. I was like, I didn't do New York, so I have to do this for them. And then Arnold Brazil, same thing. I didn't even take an off season. I went straight to prepping for Arnold Brazil, and I was like, I have to do this for them, you know, to make, you know, this thing come true, this image of myself that they have and that I have for myself. But when I lost my very close cousin, that's the loss that I had, and, you know, he was 2 weeks older than me, and we were like brothers. It put things into perspective for me. And then when I took that time off from, you know, like even thinking about bodybuilding, and I was like, you know, like, why am I doing that? You know, why am I internalizing these outside, you know, these outside noise, you know, and putting the pressure on myself. And, you know, I took this time to really get back to the root of bodybuilding for myself, where I'm in the gym. I love being in the gym. You know, that's what pushes me. That's what drives me. And, you know, I finally found my way back to that space. So now it's like, when I see that, you know, I post these updates and people are saying, wow, he could do this, he could do that, I'm like, oh, that's great. Thanks. I appreciate it. But I don't internalize it anymore. You know, it's just see it. I say, thank you. And I move on to the next thing, because it's about myself and the journey for myself and what I get out of this, because it's my passion. And, you know, I mean, it's the character development of myself. And I have to love it. I can't love it for someone else, you know? So, a bit of a rant, there, but
no, absolutely.
But yeah,
you know, Keon kind of went through something similar a couple years ago, and people were like writing him off, like, you know, he's done and this and this, and he took a little break. And, you know, not that you've had that struggle or, you know, any kind of failure to this point, but I mean, it's great to see that you're doing it for yourself. I mean, that's a great answer, and I think it's going to take you a lot further. So good for you, man.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I think everyone, you know, has to kind of deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like, okay, people like you, they do this and that, and then you kind of feel responsible, you know, kind of for that too, right? So, and then after some time, you figure out that, hey, man, it's not what I am, or not what I supposed to do, or, you know, not just to pay attention too much on that or this, or, you know, criticism, stuff like that. But as soon as you figure out that's, you know, only me, you know, just I'm doing that for myself, and I'm without doing it for yourself, you're not gonna grow, you're not gonna get there where we want, you know. So people will always tell you something, or like you, or don't dislike you, or criticize you, or, you know, anything. But, you know, it's all about you, and it's up to you, you know. So yeah, awesome.
All right, we are going to do a little rapid fire game here. I'm going to call this the 2025 Magic Ball predictions. So it was going to be a word answer, but I feel like we could get into these, so we're not going to go a long time with them. You know, we don't want to stir up any controversy, but just get you guys first thoughts, first initial response that comes to your head. And if you want to elaborate, feel free to. Okay, so we're going to it's just going to be all over the board on Olympia, well, just bodybuilding and IFBB for next year. So we'll do this. Dennis, you'll answer first, and then we'll get Carlos's answer on each of these. Okay. All right, Dennis, other than Carlos, who will be the biggest breakout star in 2025 in the open division?
And
Anybody that comes to mind? It could be somebody that's been around, but who's going to really move up and really shock some people, you think, this next year?
Man, that's a tough question. It's a very tough question. I hope my athlete, Dennis Reinhold.
I knew you were going to say Dennis Reinhold. I knew you were going to say it. All right. Well, good.
I
man.
mean, he has great potential. So, we're pushing. His,
I got you. All right. We'll let you slide on that one. Carlos, other than yourself, who do you like? Who do you really see being a threat and coming up that hadn't really made their mark yet?
I think it's going to be my good friend Jordan Hutchison. He's improved every year from when we did from 2023 Texas Pro, and then he did Chicago, he did Tampa, and Texas Pro this year as well. And he's been improving. He still has to fill out his frame a little bit more, but he's a guy that has made consistent improvements every year. And I have no doubt that he'll do the same this year. So I'm excited to see him.
That's awesome. He's a good friend of ours. He's been on the show a couple times. He trains like really not far from me over here. And, he's I know he's dedicated. He's in the scene, and great call. He had great conditioning at that Texas Pro that when you made your debut, I remember him. That's where I first saw him. And he's a gasp athlete along with Dennis. So I've gotten to know him a little better, and has a great crew and support system here in Dallas. So that's a great call. What do you think about that one, Dennis?
I agree. Jordan looks great, and we've been watching him like since Arnold, right? So that's the first time we have him on the podcast, and he is dedicated. He's improving. So he's still very young. So it's a way to go, and I think he might be coming up there in the next year or two. Hope so.
Oh, I'm sure he wants a rematch with you, Carlos. So
yes, sir.
Hopefully we'll see it this year. All right, next one. Dennis, with Hani Rambod stepping aside from coaching, will Derek Lunsford move up from his third place finish or down at the Olympia next year?
He has to move up. I think right now it's his goal is to figure out what went wrong and not to do the same mistakes again and just bring it. Anything can happen to you, close before the show or at the show, day before the show. And, he is a Mr. Olympia 212 and open. I mean, it's a high caliber athlete. So, and I think he's still at his beginning of his career. So he's going to go up for sure.
Carlos, up or down for Derek?
I think he can go up. He's beat those guys before, and I feel like he knows what to fix, and he's a guy who's dedicated, and I think he can move up. I think he can move up for sure.
All right, next question, Dennis. Is Nick Walker a top 5 bodybuilder?
Top 5 bodybuilder. Hard to tell because there's so many, So, but yes, if you land in the top 5 spot at the Olympia, you're a top 5 bodybuilder for sure.
Will he be a top 5 bodybuilder in 2025?
Oh man, look, it's the first time he pulled out, and everybody started, criticizing him and stuff like that. But he always brought it, and I think he's not done yet. So yes, he can be, for sure.
Carlos, how do you look at Nick? Do you think he's moving up this year, or think he's in that elite top 5?
Yeah, I do. I think Andrew placed 5th this past year. So, and I still think that he edges Andrew out on those side shots. So, even though Andrew's physique is the statuesque, Mona Lisa action figure that it is, I still think Nick, is has that freak mutant look that can, surpass Andrew. So I think he can fit into that top 5 this year for sure.
All right, Dennis, I know you're a Samson fan. Can Samson continue to improve and string together multiple Olympia titles and go on an Olympia run like a Phil Heath or Ronnie Coleman, or is it going to be year to year? What do you think?
I think Samson is the person who can hold on the title for a few years. Also, if Andrew Jack wins the title, he's also a candidate to, stay up there for a long time. So I think Samson has no other choice to to improve and get better and better. So, I mean, this year's Olympia, he finally brought it, the whole package, what they were looking for, and compared to the other athletes, he wasn't dry, but the picture was perfect, right? So compared to the rest, so if Hadi was dry, he was not that having that volume, so things like that. So and yeah, he's the guy. I mean, I would say it will be tough for the guys to beat him for the next 2 years at least. I think so.
Carlos
is
Carlos a multi-year winner in your book?
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, the trajectory is ridiculous. Like, from like 4 years ago to he was placing top 5. Maybe winning. On the cusp of winning shows to winning the Miss Olympia. I mean, the dude's on a record-breaking type of like trajectory. So if he can continue this, then yeah, for sure. Which it's crazy. It really is.
Man, I think he's going to have to, if he can bring that conditioning a little more, I think he can do it.
Yeah.
I think if he shows up even like, as good as he was and he won the title, obviously, I think if somebody makes some dramatic improvements with their conditioning, I think he could go down. But, I'm anxious to see what he brings to the Arnold and if it's the same package or an even better one. So we'll see how his wife brings him in, I guess.
I mean, it's the only thing to improve, more condition.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's big enough. I mean, look, 310 pounds.
Well, I'd like to see his back come up a little more. Is that last update? It looked like it was coming up.
Back can be always a little better, and
I'm just saying when you're standing next to guys like Derek, Derek and Hadi, you got to, your backs, you can always, room for improvement. But all right, here's a little wild card, and Carlos will be interested to get your take on this one. I know you followed a little bit. Dennis, I'm anxious to hear your answer here. Who is your favorite or your pick to take over the Classic Olympia title next year? Who would you like to see carry that torch?
You asking me?
Yeah.
I will go with Mike Sommerfield.
I'll be interested to see if Mike does the Arnold. I don't know if we talked about that. I think we've got Rough Diesel's coming back.
I don't remember, but I think he's not doing it.
Is he not? Oh, that's right. He said he was just going to wait and train for the Olympia.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
that's probably smart.
Hey, but classic physique. Look, I mean, there's so many young guys coming every year.
Lots of guys.
So it might be someone we don't even expect. I don't see like Urs winning it or another one, but because it's my opinion. It's like nothing against Urs or but I think that's very difficult right now to choose someone who can carry the torch as long as Sibam did, right? So it might be again like switch up like we had it between Brion and Chris, right? So who knows? But I would say right now what we saw in the last Olympia, Mike is the best chances.
Yeah. All right, Carlos, you got a favorite in the classic division?
After seeing, like Dennis said, after seeing this past Olympia, I have to say that Mike is leading as the front runner. Man, like that was, when I seen it, I was like, whew, this is. I was like, this is close. It was cool. It was the only time you seen a guy go against Chris, and you were like, whoa, this isn't. It didn't feel like a runaway. So that was really cool to have that experience. So I think that Mike is doing the right thing, taking the time off and making those improvements so that he can distance himself away from the pack, because it could be a flip-flop if no one comes in as they should. But yeah, I would agree with Dennis to say, yeah, that Mike will be the front runner.
All right. I'd like to see Brion come back and get it again. I don't know if they'll give it to him, but a guy in his like mid-40s come back and take it. That would be something. That'd be really
honestly
cool.
I don't understand why he's been placing like too low.
He's always in condition, man. He's always in shape.
I don't know, and like the development is on point. I mean everything, So I don't understand that.
I don't either, but I think he'll be up there. I know he'll try to get it back.
I hope so. I mean, for 40 years old, I mean, he looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For any age.
I know it is. I'm 46. So
he's our age, Dennis. So there you go. All right, last question. Dennis, in 2025, will Carlos Thomas Jr. qualify for the Olympia?
I think yes.
Which show is he going to do it? Just say the Arnold right now. Say he's going to win the Arnold Classic.
Can you imagine that?
Boy, shake up the world. That would be crazy.
That'd be.
I'm going to go in like I'm going to do it. I promise you that.
Hey, man, $500,000. Yes, you got to, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, hey, never be afraid of any other athletes, we all have respect, and that should be number one. Respect your competitors and all that. But you should be here straight on, like what you want. That's it. So if you don't want it here, you'll never get it. So that's it.
Carlos, I know your answer is going to be yes. So I'm going to ask you, if you qualify early or mid-season, will you sit out and wait, or you're going to go into the Olympia? You'll do it next year. Excuse me.
No, I'm going to do it. I don't think nothing's really guaranteed, in life sometimes. So, doing the Olympia and being up there and being amongst, the best in the world has always been a dream of mine. So I would do it, but I wouldn't stop if I have the honor of winning in at the Detroit. I wouldn't stop my plans. I want to, like we spoke about earlier, I want to do other shows. I want to, hone my skill as an athlete, as a professional, and get out there and put my face out there some more. So I'd continue doing, as many shows as I could.
What kind of break do you feel like you need between like a show earlier in the season and Olympia? Do you try to run a little off season in there? Or is it more like a health phase, or kind of how do you approach that?
So, I'm lucky enough to be partnered with a wonderful HRT clinic, BioXL. So I get my blood work done through them, and we've been running blood work every 4 to 6 weeks, just making sure everything stays top notch. So it's going to be dependent upon, hey, like, how do I look internally, and how do I look physically? Do I look run down, tired, flat? I've never done multiple shows like that before, so it's going to be a wait and see type of thing where, let's see how it goes. But definitely between, say, if I end my time at New York Pro, between the Olympia, if it's in October again, that's definitely going to be a time where we want to get healthy, not put on too much fluff, because it would be a disservice to me, because I have enough muscle, and I think the condition is what we need to work on. So it'd be like I get healthy and then, get back to getting ready for the Olympia.
Very good. Very good, man. We had who was it we just had on Dennis on the show? I'd really love to see Carlos go up against Tonio. I think Tonio,
my boy.
Yeah, he was a great guest, man. I would love to see you guys stand toe to toe. So different physiques, obviously, but that would be a great. I'd love to see you guys up there battling out for a win. So anyway, well, man, that's all I got. I really appreciate you coming on. Are you in Pennsylvania now, or are you in Delaware?
I'm in Wilmington, Delaware. So
okay,
right now I'm in Wilmington, Delaware. Yes.
Okay. You said you went to Penn State?
I went to Villanova for my master's degree. Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, good deal, man. Dennis, you got anything else?
Oh, that's it. That's a lot of information I had no idea about. So thank you, Carlos, for joining us today, and it was an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you guys.
All right, that's going to wrap up another one for us at Big Bad Bodybuilding. Remember, go visit our sponsors, olympiatradingcards.com, and go to nutritionwolf.com, enter code BBB, and get your forage greens. We'll have to send Carlos. He can always use a little bit more digestive help over there, right? We'll send you but no, thank you for coming on. Good luck next year, and that's it for us. And remember, stay hungry like the wolf.